It's a time for more packages from China. Let's go.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in. So in this video we have a new game box from a friend from China. So this thing is called the Super Console X Max Plus 2. I also like to refer this thing to the X3 Supreme because this thing is something new. They did use old technology like always because these are like budget boxes. But the difference with the previous model I've reviewed is very simple. This thing has some more juice to it. And with some more juice, we're also going to get a better Android version. We're going to get better EmuElec support. And of course our typical PlayStation 2 knockoff controllers. So the weird thing is that we're going to get some extra dongles. So we're going to get 2 dongles for the controllers, or 1 dongle for each controller wireless. But also this time we're going to get a dongle for extra connectivity. Then we're going to get in the extra box the power supply. It's a 12 volt and the cheap model. We're going to get the horrible USB hub that we sadly going to need. Then we're going to get HDMI cable, an extra remote, the system itself, and nothing else. Alright, so this time we're going to get a different version. The previous video we talked about the translucent. There are in total 3 versions out there. Okay, so this is the quite confusing part. When I was ordering a couple of these boxes myself, I noticed that there are so many different versions and let's say the marketplace is a little bit of a mess. But what are we going to get with the connections? We're also going to talk about the power. But this thing is completely better than the other models reviewed. Like think about the Super Console X Max Edition, because this is the Plus. It comes with more power and it comes with a nice display at the front and better cooling. But okay, so what are we going to get with the connections? At the left side we're going to get 2 USB ports, one 2.0 and one 3.0. But it depends how you want to connect everything. How many players you're going to play. Because if you're going to play alone and you just want to use Wi-Fi, 2 USB ports will be more than enough. We're going to get ourselves a separate dongle for the Wi-Fi capabilities. I don't like the 2 ports because, yep, if you want to play with 4 players, you're having a problem because we need to have the USB hub. And the USB hub, this thing what you're going to get is a freaky piece of flimsy chemical plastic, and it's like the cheap. I will not even recommend using it. So that is something you need to replace and get a better one. But the controllers, how about that? So with previous models we always get like these chemical horrible controllers, but this time it's going to be slightly better. So we're paying a little bit more money for this game box. But with the controllers you can see like we're going to get better quality. The first thing I'm noticing that the sturdiness of the D-pad is not bad at all, and I really love the membrane response of the buttons and the D-pad. Then we're going to get the on and off switch, and this controller works like all the other ones, like with 2 AAA batteries. So sadly there is no option for getting yourself some battery packs for this. But this is what you're going to get. But you can also use a different controller, for example an Xbox 360 wireless version. Okay, here we're going to get 2 times audio jack out. What I understand the AV out doesn't work, RG45, HDMI out, and optical out, but the biggest bummer is that we don't get an on and off switch. So at the top we're going to get a very nice LED RGB fan, and this fan is quite silent. I'm going to put the microphone up front of the fan itself. You can just barely hear it now. Okay, so let's do a little bit of a nerdy time with Wicked. So we're going to get basically an X96 Max Plus 2. This is basically the board they are reusing for this. Board type is the Franklin, comes with a quad core Gore-Tex A55 running on 1908 MHz, G31 for the GPU, RAM 4GB, storage 32GB internally, and then we're going to get 256GB with the SD card. There is also like a 64 and a 128GB edition. The EmuElec version is 4.3 and the Android edition is 9.0. So when it comes to specs, it's not really exciting, but it's still better than nothing. But first let's take a close look at the Android version. What are we going to get? How does it work? And if even can we use it with a Play Store, for example? What kind of Android edition is it? Is it like a weird one, so a fake one, or is it a real one? So when booting up, this is the menu where you're going to get. It works quite simple. It comes pre-installed with Play Store, Google Chrome, but also the option to add, or better said, sideload your own apps with the app installer. I just want to point out, this thing also supports 4K YouTube, and you can play some Netflix, but take consideration Netflix, because the rooted device you can only use Netflix on 480p, if I'm saying it correctly. So that's all like a little bit of bummer with these cheap Android boxes from AliExpress. So for gaming, that is purely what we're going to use it for. But first let's try some AIDA 64, like double checking the specs. There is only one downside: because of the main board, the older edition it is, you cannot install every single application. So we're going to try out AIDA64, that will be installing without any problem, but I tried to install, for example, a GameCube emulator, and there were some other applications that didn't want to boot up on this. So take consideration there are some limitations to this. It's still an old piece of hardware. And yeah, even the one to install Dolphin, it doesn't even matter because it doesn't run GameCube, PlayStation 2, stuff like that. It's not just powerful enough. Okay, so we already talked about the specification, but I just want to give you a look with AIDA64. So you're going to get the x86 Max Plus 2. Here you can see like the board is Franklin, 4GB of RAM. So they don't really lying with the saying on the product page. So the specification wise, I think it's similar to the Super Console X, if I'm saying it correctly, the Max edition, because they are reusing the same kind of hardware. So the G31, the Mali, the GPU is not super bad at all. So, but I think what is quite interesting to show you is that the Android version is actually 9 Pi. So when you're looking at the previous model of the Super Console X versions, they're also using this old school 4. Another thing is quite interesting is the thermals. It's just putting on idle, but to give you like a quick overview, here you can see like it goes around 30 Celsius, and with the normal Super Console X we were hitting up to 50, up to 60 Celsius sometimes. So the CPU cooling is absolutely way better with this casing. So this is the biggest and the baddest. This is the 256GB storage capacity version. It's just a SanDisk. If it's an original SanDisk, I don't even know, by the way. So where the old Super Console X are stuck on the 3.9 EmuElec, I must say like it doesn't really matter. Now we're having like the newer edition, the 4.3, and we're going to get some interesting options. We're going to get Sega Saturn, we're also going to get some 3DO Panasonic. So there are a lot of platforms that we didn't see before. But there is only one thing you need to take consideration. This is still a low power device. So Sega Saturn, stuff like that. And 3DO, I tried it out, but I did notice a lot of problems. So for the old school stuff, it will just work fine. But especially when you're looking at the higher end stuff, there we're still going to get some mixed performance, because it's simply like quite an old but basic specification mainboard that they're using inside the Super Console X Max Plus 2. Okay, so let's take a close look at Sega Saturn first, because this is the new addition to the Super Console X series. And yeah, when you're looking at the EmuElec, it's a pretty cool piece of software, and the Yaba Sensiro, I almost know for sure that it's running on this. But when you're looking at the box, it's just not powerful enough to run the three-dimensional games. And what I'm noticing is that it will have some hiccups here and there. But when you're looking at like other games, two-dimensional games, there we're going to get a good performance with Sega Saturn. It's the same story that we had with the previous models. Two-dimensional games are less demanding and will have like better performance when it comes to more demanding systems. So when you're looking at the Sega Dreamcast, and in combination with this new box, we're going to get better performance. It's still not perfect, but I'm noticing like the Dreamcast will run mostly of the games just fine. So when you're looking at the more demanding games like Dead or Alive 2, there we're going to get quite a good performance. Where we have a lot of problems with the S905, the first editions, the X3 will run these games better. But PlayStation Portable will always be a problem on low-end boxes. You can see the background is glitching like crazy, and there we're going to get a lot of problems. And if you want to play some three-dimensional games, don't even think about it, because there we're going to get a lot of frame dips and problems. And that is the thing with these cheap boxes. For PlayStation Portable, that are like the really demanding systems. We need to just have more power like a mini PC or a higher powerful mini Android box. And N64, how about that? It's quite simple. N64 will always be a mixed performance when it comes to low powered boxes. But with the X3, now we're going to get slightly better performance because the CPU is clocked higher and this emulator works better on this. But don't get me wrong, like the more demanding will still have a lot of problems. Think about GoldenEye. Okay guys, so let's do a quick teardown. So the cases are very easy to disassemble. The only thing that we need to do is gang ourselves a multi-toolkit from AliExpress, for example, with a very tiny embus. Otherwise you cannot get it open. There are only like 4 of these embuses that you need to remove, and you can just lift up the top cover. So let's cut it over here, and I will show you how you need to do this. So what I do like about it, it's just a basic fan they're using with the normal 2 pins connection. So if you want to basically replace it with something else, you can do that fairly easy. Or if you have any problems, if you just need to replace it, you can get your one from your local store or maybe AliExpress. You can replace it, remove 4 screws, and you're done with it. So these plastics can be removed. This one goes a little bit difficult. But okay, so what you can see already here is that it's just a basic TV box that we've seen before, only they removed the old casing and they slapped it in the new case. So I must hand it to them, they're trying to improve on the low budget way. Okay, so here you can see it says the X96 and it comes with 4 GB of RAM over there. Then we're going to see a sticker that says 4 GB of RAM, 32 GB internal storage. And that is basically what we're going to get. It is old school stuff. It even comes with some old school Wi-Fi antennas. Here we can already indicate that is an old piece of equipment. Here we can see, I think that is not really the production date. This is the version 4.1, so that is not like the first editions. Okay, so here at the back we can see like they added some extra cables to the main board. It is not original, they soldered that straight onto the port for getting the 5 volts needed for getting the fan to work. Okay, so but this is basically what you're going to get. It's an old TV box inside a new case. I must hand it to them, give them some extra kudos for trying to improve the system. It's a little bit of a bummer they're still using cheap China old school TV boxes, because these boxes are not powerful enough to run, let's say, later models. Think about the Stick at Saturn. It will run some games, but it is not perfect performance. But yeah, the pros and cons. So I think the design it's way better, cooling is better, plays up to Dreamcast. Controls are great quality, silent fan, very pleased with that, but still we need some more power. 4, of course, PSP, Saturn, and 64. Only 2 USB ports, and the Netflix support is like pretty damn awful. I want to thank you for watching, consider subscribing, hit that little bell, become on the Wicked family, and let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and I will see you in the next video.